So did we get it right? If you haven't seen over the last week, we're unveiling the NCAA all quarter century team. We've seen this with some other sports, a really cool idea, and we're doing it for all 10 NCAA weights. And we started this week, and I'm sure you saw it all over social media. We did 125, and every single weight class is going to be fraught with tons of debate, tons of discussion about who really is the best of the best for this 25-year run, because you're comparing guys that never competed against each other, different eras, different styles, and it makes for, for off-season content and for just off-season content a lot of fun. But if you didn't see, we unveiled it on Thursday, and it was number 1 was Spencer Lee, number 2 Stephen Abbas, number 3 Anthony Robles, and number 4 Matt McDonough. And the way we did it, we all put out, we listed all 25 NCAA champions, and then there was a vote, a panel that voted their top 4. And so there's some great wrestlers that didn't even make the top 4. You've got someone like Jesse Delgado, a 2-time NCAA champion, didn't make the list. Nick Suriano, a number of obviously NCAA champions. There have been nearly 25 over the past quarter century. So a lot of great wrestlers off the list, but the final 4 were those 4, and that's the order it came in. And now on the one hand, you're wondering with that vote of Spencer Lee, how much of it is a recency bias? This is the last guy we saw. He was a 3-time champion. He was utterly dominant. He won the Hodge Trophy twice, which says, hey, you're the best wrestler in college wrestling for 2 years. That's a boast that none of these guys could make. But then you rewind it back a little bit, and I think there's a really strong case for all 4, and really strong case for 3 of these guys. Let's start with Anthony Robles. Robles was, he was only a 1-time NCAA champion, but you're kind of finding the best wrestler. It's not necessarily a career award, though there isn't a set criteria. It's kind of like who at their best would win the match, who would be the best, who would perform the best against the others, right? It's not just who stacked up the most accolades. And with that angle, Anthony Robles is incredibly interesting because he had an undefeated season in 2011. He was 34-0 with 21 techs, a number of majors. He was, from a bonus point percentage basis, the most dominant wrestler in the country that year. Now, he didn't win the Hodge Trophy because Jordan Burroughs ended up winning it that year, but Anthony Robles was incredibly, incredibly dominant. Oh, by the way, en route to his NCAA title, he beat the reigning NCAA champion, Matt McDonough, in the NCAA finals. So that is something that very few can boast. And also there's just the X factor. If you haven't watched Robles wrestle, one, he had one leg. And so he had this incredibly unique style, obviously. He wrestled from a knee. He'd get your wrists. He'd find a way on top, or he'd choose top. And once he got on top, there's not been a better wrestler from the top position I think I've seen at 125 pounds, even including Spencer Lee. It was just a matter of fact. He was going to get your wrist, and he was going to tilt you. Whether it was a roll through, ball and chain, he was going to tilt you up. And it normally happened multiple times in a match. And that factor makes it so interesting because, yeah, Stephen Abbas won 3 and he won his last 95 matches. Yeah, Spencer Lee had 2 undefeated seasons, 2 Hodge trophies, no doubt about it. But the reality is Anthony Robles could just choose top on these guys, and maybe he turns them 3 or 4 times, and it doesn't matter how great they were from neutral. It doesn't matter that they basically were ridden by no one else because there's no proxy. There's no way to simulate, oh, he got away from this guy, therefore he'd get away, because there's only been one Anthony Robles. So that's the case for Anthony. For Stephen Abbas, he and Spencer have such similar careers. Both 3-time NCAA champions, both Olympic silver medalists post-collegiately. But they got it done a little different way. Stephen Abbas was a neutral specialist, right? Incredible low singles, head shucks. He could counter scramble. He had the Delgado dive roll before Delgado was maybe even wrestling. He was just a special wrestler. And from the neutral perspective, maybe he was the best guy on his feet of anyone. You could make that claim for sure. And another feather in his cap, or a point for him, is that he won 95 straight matches. Spencer Lee never had a streak even remotely close to that. He wasn't undefeated his freshman or sophomore years. In fact, in his freshman and sophomore years. He didn't even win Big Tens, but he won NCAAs. So, and then his junior year for Spencer, this is not his fault, out of his control, but the COVID-19 pandemic, he won Big Tens, was undefeated, but didn't get to wrestle the NCAA tournament. And then the next year was the COVID-shortened season where he went, I think around 13, 14-0, maybe a little more than that. But either way, it was a shrunk schedule because it was just half a semester, only dual meets. But he was undefeated there. He won the Hodge, but the field wasn't quite the same. So you factor all those things in, and you're like, well, Abbas, he went 95 straight. He didn't. He lost as a freshman. He had one loss as a sophomore, but then 95 in a row is just an incredible, incredible accomplishment. And there's something to be said. Yeah, Spencer got it done 3 times when it mattered most. But there's something to be said for, hey, you never had that off day. And Stephen Abbas, for 95 straight, just didn't have that off day that ended in a loss. But ultimately, the Spencer Lee won, and he won. He had a decent margin, but it wasn't ultimately that daunting. It wasn't a runaway like it was. The fan vote was insane. The fan vote, y'all, I don't know if y'all know who Stephen Abbas was, but if you know, you know. But the FloWrestling vote, which it was some internal, some external, we had it pretty close, but Spencer Lee ended up winning. And I think winning the Hodge Trophy twice, for me, was the separator, right? Not to mention the fact when I envisioned Spencer and Abbas wrestling, I wonder if Abbas, I do think, would be able to take him down, but would be able to take him down enough? Are we sure Abbas can get away, right? And we'll never know that answer, but the 2 Hodge Trophy victories for Spencer Lee gives me some confidence that we got the call right. But it could be debated forever. And if you say Stephen Abbas, if you say Anthony Robles, if you say Matt McDonough, who, by the way, Matt McDonough won the best weight of all of these guys. He won a weight as a freshman that had NCAA champion from the year before, Troy Nickerson. Had NCAA champion, Angel Escobedo. Had future NCAA champion, Anthony Robles, yes, was in that bracket, and Matt McDonough won it, beating Andrew Long in the final. So it's an incredible weight class. 133 is going to be hotly debated as well. My final 4, which are not the FloWrestling final 4, you'll find those out Monday, but my final 4, in no particular order, were Logan Stieber, Jordan Oliver, Nishan Garrett, and Vito Arujau. But there are some greats not on my list. And maybe they should be. Jason Ness, very well could be a Hodge Trophy winner. Franklin Gomez, outstanding. There's a number of elite guys. Roman Bravo Young, 2-time champ. Nick Soriano, etc., etc. They're not on my list. My final 4, Logan, J.O., Nishan Garrett, Vito Arujau. Those are my choices. Those are not the final 4 for FloWrestling necessarily. Those will be announced on Monday, and then we'll be repeating this all again. So what are your thoughts on the quarter century team? What are your thoughts on the winner so far? Spencer Lee takes the crown at 125. I want to hear from you.